conversations with wedding professionals as they share their stories, insights, and tips from inside the wedding industry. We'll chat about how to be authentic and that it's okay not to be perfect or run your business like someone else's Instagram. Let's dive into the privilege it is to serve our clients and discover the talented creatives that make up our community. When we share what we know and who we are, we better serve our couples as a wedding day team, as well as each other. Simply put, be Fabbo. Now here's your host, Bobby Brinkman.
Hey everybody, happy Wedding Wednesday. You know, one of the things that I wanted to do with this podcast was to be able to showcase and share the amazing talent we have in the wedding industry, not only here in local Georgia, in coastal Georgia, but also throughout the United States and even abroad a little bit. We got some guests coming up there from Canada, etc. But I wanted to showcase what goes on Monday through Thursday, not just when we're working on the weekends. And a lot of us do midweek weddings. But I wanted to bring on some seasoned veterans to talk about their struggles, their stripes, things that they go through daily. So sometimes as solo entrepreneurs, we feel like we're by ourselves. And I wanted to have a way once a week where you could sit down for a minute and maybe hear somebody's story and go, man, that's me, or I aspire to be that, or man, I'm so glad somebody else had that struggle, or they're going through this, or even an aha moment. But I also wanted to bring some new and up-and-coming talent. I wanted to reach out to some new people that were just starting their industry, some young entrepreneurs that got into the wedding industry. We're not seeing a lot of new talented people enter every day anymore. So I was really excited to find some creative entrepreneurs that wanted to join the wedding industry and that are thriving and doing wonderful things and sharing their talents. And let me tell you, today, folks, we've got the Fabbo Kristian Reinbold. She started her business at 19. A couple years later, she only had 1 or 2 weddings, and here we are in 2019, and she is servicing 45 weddings here in Savannah and the lowcountry. Her business is based out of Statesboro, Georgia, but this is one talented young lady who is doing it the right way. She understands the value and the privilege it is to be of service to our clients and to each other. She works hard every day to raise the bar in the floral departments and in the design departments, and she's bringing just a fresh touch. And it's inspiring to have somebody this young, this talented, wanting to stay here and in it for the long haul and wanting to do it the right way and do it on her own terms and have her own voice, but still understand that this is community and that competition and community sometimes don't mix, but she firmly believes in community over competition. I'm very excited she took some time with us. We're in the midst of spring wedding season here in coastal Georgia at the time of this interview, and I appreciate her sitting down and talking to me. Y'all going to want to get to know her. You're going to want to follow her Instagram. You're going to want to have this young lady on your wedding day team, and vendors, you're going to want to make her a part of your small circle. So without further ado, please, everybody, welcome Kristian Reinbold to the show, and everybody have a fabulous weekend. Let's hit the show. All right, listeners, welcome back. As promised, we're going to talk all about wedding floral design and some decor. I'm thrilled to have this Fabbo lady join us today. She's based out of Brooklet, Statesboro, Georgia area, but she travels Charleston, lowcountry, down here at St. Simon's, Waycross, anywhere you want some wonderful flowers. This is the girl to have. Let's welcome to the show, Kristian Designs. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's tell our listeners how you got to this place in wedding planning, how you got to this place in wedding design, and how you found your place being a florist in the wedding industry.
Well, Bobby, I am so excited to be here with you today. So I'll start off with how I started in flowers. I started doing flowers back in high school when I was a sophomore, and I just did it for fun. I just thought the class would be fun, and then I fell in love with flowers, with gardening, with anything plants. I could name off, if somebody showed me a leaf, I could tell you what flower it came off of. I fell in love with flowers. And my teacher at the time could see that in me, and so she told me I should try competing in floral design. And so I took a step into that, and I won the first competition, and I went all the way to state, and I won state as well. And then I went all the way to nationals, and I got silver. And I was like, man, I'm pretty good at this.
Wow.
So after that, I got a part-time job at a flower shop here in Statesboro. And I worked that job for 2.5 years. And then I decided that I would quit. And the day after I quit that job, I opened my own shop.
That is the way to do it. I mean, I'm going to give you kudos right there for knowing that you at least went and worked somewhere else first instead of coming back and telling me that you were in a wedding and didn't like flowers and thought, I can do that. I mean, I love when I hear, especially younger generations, they went out and they interned under somebody or they went somewhere and shadowed somebody, because you already obviously had the innate expertise and you had that knowledge. So now you just needed to figure out how to turn that passion into a business. And everybody, let me tell you, you'll need to follow her Instagram and she'll tell us where to get that later. But she just has a different look. So I'm excited for you all to follow her. So again, very young entrepreneur. So 2 years after she started her own business.
At 19.
At 19, everybody. Did you hear that? And you all think you think I started young at 16. There you go. So that's great. So then from there, after 2 years of opening your shop, how did you progress the next couple of years?
So my first year, I'm just going to be completely honest, I had one wedding. My first year in business, I had one wedding, and I was asking other florists around here in Savannah, freelancing all over. I would drive 2 to 3 hours to freelance with other florists just to get experience and to learn from others. And then I did a wedding in Savannah, and I joined the Savannah Wedding Vendors Group and networked with them. And that is how I started booking more and more weddings. And now I'm over 45 weddings last year, and I'm way over that this year. And I am so blessed to have so many awesome brides.
And are you finding that, make sure our listeners, also understand that aside from being this great florist, you have a knack for the design. So you can help couples come to you with a small vision or no vision and quickly turn it into a floral vision that they might not have dreamed of. So tell us a little bit how that works from getting hired to be a florist and then working your design into that mix.
So I will meet with the bride and groom, and a lot of my couples are out of state, so they're having destination weddings around here, and which makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'll either FaceTime them or something like that, and I create a custom proposal for each and every bride that contains drawings or inspiration pictures. I describe every single arrangement, every single flower that's in each arrangement. And I walk them through the process from start to finish so that they can see the vision that I see them having on their wedding day. And I want the flowers to tell a story of them. And I want it to show, their personality through my work.
That is great. So one of the things that I see often that happens when couples come to a florist is, especially here in Georgia, I'm getting married in the middle of May or June, but I really like this flower in my bouquet. Can you explain to our listeners a little bit how you, being knowledgeable of flowers, you can explain to a couple how they might not work, it might not be available, and how do you manage a couple's expectations if there's a flower that they want for the bouquet, but it's just not going to work, and you don't want to disappoint them, but smart business person that you are, you also can't say it's not going to represent my work that well. So how do you manage those expectations with a couple?
So flowers are always in season, and I know like Pinterest pictures don't really help my business when they just show me pictures and all the different flowers are in them. But that doesn't mean that they're going to look good. A flower in season means that it's like at the height, the best point it can be. And I can always get all the flowers all year round, but gotcha. That doesn't mean that they're going to look amazing or last, longer than 2 days or something like that. So if it's really hot outside, if somebody's getting married in June and they're wanting a really delicate flower, I am not going to let them use that flower because I know they're not going to be happy with the end result.
Right.
And I always have backup flowers for people that want a certain look. So a peony, for example, is super popular and super expensive. And I can always get them in, but when they're not in season, and I say that with quotes, they're going to be small and they're going to fall apart easily and they just don't last long. And so a ranunculus, for example, is smaller, but it has that same fluffy look, romantic look, and I can substitute, that peony for the ranunculus. I have many substitutions for like specialty type flowers that a bride may want.
And I'm sure couples are only really coming to you with a name that they see. They may not even have the right flower. So the fact that you can, right. So the fact that you can guide them and saying, hey, what you think you want is this, but this is going to be better. And then that helps you in the design plan, because then you can design something better for them that elevates, what they want for their vision to be. That is, I did not know that flowers were always in season. I thought it was, you get roses on this time and not roses on this time. So maybe we can elaborate a little bit on that. How often do you deal with an odd color or a color that a couple wants and you know that it's not like real to that species, I guess, of flower? Like, like maybe a super dark blue rose or something.
I was just about to say that color. So recently, I think last year, the big like color palette was blush and navy and white. Like that was a big thing that I kept seeing over and over again. And so they would come to me with Pinterest pictures of blue flowers. And blue flowers are not common in nature. If you see a blue flower, cut flower, it is either dyed or spray painted. And I can do that. It just doesn't look natural, and it really doesn't look good in pictures.
Exactly.
From your perspective, it looks fake. And so I try to like recommend a different shade of blue, like lighter blues, or I pull in a gray toned flower that has like a blue tint to it. So they still get that blue, but it's not fake.
Gotcha.
I also can incorporate, those shades that flowers don't usually come in a ribbon color. So if they're wanting that navy blue, I can wrap their bouquet in a navy ribbon so they still have that color in there.
And on that, can we talk a little bit about some of these colors and how they sometimes fade onto dresses or hands? Sometimes when you get these really fake colors and just nerves alone have some of these girls' hands sweating, or even some of the gentlemen's tuxes or shirts, are you able to guide these people in saying, hey, look, that will fade onto this. And again, it will not do you well to go this route?
Oh yeah, for sure. And when I drop off the bouquets, I walk them through, how to hold it and always take a paper towel and dab the bottom of the bouquet so nothing gets on your dress, nothing runs on your dress. And I've never had knock on wood, I've never had something like run on somebody's dress, but I always make sure to walk them through that process.
Yeah, because that is something, like I said, that's why I wear my long black shirt. My long black shirt is just there to help you florist dab your flower. Let's talk a little bit about bouquets. And again, everybody, most of I'm a photographer. So I have, in my 37 years, have run into brides that have a bouquet that is far too large for them versus a bride that has bouquets that are far too small. What is the process that you as a florist go through to determine what size a bride should to carry? Where does it go with the size of the bride, the look they're going for? It's a combination of all those things. How do you best serve your client by getting the right shape and size bouquet?
So when I sit down with them, a lot of brides do not know that there are different variations of bouquets. There are different sizes and shapes. And if it is a more modern look that the bride is going for, I'm going to suggest doing an asymmetrical bouquet. and not so tight and round, because to me that's more traditional and that's more classic of a design. And if they're wanting that, modern boho style, it's not going to fit well, especially with the dress and the decor that they have.
And what is your definition of that? What is your definition from a florist standpoint of modern boho?
Modern boho to me would be just things out of the box that aren't, what you see every day. I went to a wedding back in December, and it was so different. Like, there was rugs down the aisle, and there was a teepee, and there little dinosaurs on our plates. Like, it was just so different and modern and not, traditional and classic. And I'm not saying that those things are, I don't like those things. Right. They're just so different. And when you do a bouquet, you want it to fit that bride's style. So if she's doing very simple designs with candles and smaller decor and stuff, I would suggest doing a more round style bouquet to fit that style.
Gotcha. Well, that's why I asked that question, because everybody's definition, I'm sure couples come to you and say, oh, me and my brides, we're doing a really modern boho thing. And then you meet them on Skype or FaceTime, and they're showing you that modern just means they're not wearing all the same dresses. So the definition from florist to couple, and like anything else, always. And so that's what I was curious. So are you finding that's the trend then with bouquets matching the bouquets of the brides or the bridesmaids? Have you seen that trend follow? If the bride sets one tone, then the bridesmaids are following as well?
So if it's a more a modern style wedding, they're wanting, or I suggest doing the bridesmaid bouquets different. And it just makes her stand out. And I'm talking about the bride here. Right. It makes the bride stand out so much more when the bridesmaids bouquets are smaller and more simple. It just makes her stand out. And with the bridesmaids bouquets, I always suggest doing different flowers as well, so that the bride's bouquet has more of the specialty type, bigger, more exotic looking flowers than they would have in their bouquets. Like, I get my flowers from, Italy and Ecuador and Alaska, California, Africa, all different kinds of places. And so I want, the flowers to tell a story and for them to be so special and so different and unique for each and every bride.
Right. And as a photographer, I appreciate that, because it does, then the flowers aren't the star of the show. The flowers just enhance the couple and their story. So let's talk a little bit about the process. Where are couples finding you? And once they find you, what's the process? They contact you, and then you set up an appointment, you set up a consult, and then how do you get from getting that to ordering these flowers from all these places? And how do you run that part of your business?
Okay. Usually a bride will meet me or talk to me on Instagram.
Good.
That is a big thing. I use Instagram on the daily, all the time, and that is usually how we meet. Sometimes it's word of mouth from venues. A lot of venues recommend me, but it's usually Instagram. And from there we will talk, and I will ask for a list of what they're thinking they want and some pictures that they like. And then from there, they get the quote, and I create a proposal for them. And about 2 months before their wedding is when I'll start getting all the flowers together and getting the list together to order, because, specialty flowers, they take a little while to come in. So I have to make sure, I get that order in ASAP. And also, I start talking to my brides usually about a year out from their wedding is when I'll start, booking their weddings. I've already started booking 2020. So I talk to them about a year out. And I really think it's important to develop a relationship with that couple. I I'm not a florist that just drops off your flowers and leaves. And any one of my brides will tell you I cry at every single wedding because I feel like we have, a relationship after we've talked almost every single day about your wedding. I just feel like I'm so honored to be a part of that special day for the both of them. So when I drop off the flowers, I'm going to hug your neck. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to take pictures with you. All of the things. I'm going to cry with you.
Exactly. And that is part of what makes you as Fabbo as you are and everything you're doing. And I love that fact that, we live in this industry has changed and we don't have a lot of full service any vendors anymore. And I'm quite used to being, and I think every photographer that's listening raises their hand, we are the ones that get tasked to put on boutonnieres, or we're the ones that get tasked to go, hey, I dropped off the flowers in a box. And I always say to the florist, don't you want to come in? Don't you want to see? I'm very blessed that most of the, florists that I work with are that type that want to come in, because this is a moment that, let me get a photo of you. I just did that Saturday, make sure you present. This is your work. You present that to don't me walk up saying, here's your floral, let's go. Present that and let's get a snappy with it for them. You're part of the story. I need you in the photos because you delivered that product. You're part of what we got there. So, so you stay and you actually get the boutonnieres pinned on. You get everything taken care of. You're not drop and run.
Yeah, exactly. And it is just so special to me. And it is my absolute favorite part of my job is walking in with that bouquet, her bouquet, and just seeing her face light up, and I will cry, and then sometimes the bride will cry too.
Right.
But I'm just so passionate about what I do, and I don't even like calling it a job because to me it is not a job. I love what I do so much.
Well, for you, it's especially a calling, and we saw that from early age. You have a love affair with flowers, and if you have a love affair with flowers, might as well be in the industry that has love affairs everywhere, and so this is a wonderful way to do that. That was going to be one of my questions. What was your favorite part? So let's spin that now, and what's the least favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
I think it's finding balance between work and my regular life. I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time with putting my phone down and not working.
Right.
I can't tell you the last time I went out and did something, just for fun
on a weekend.
Yes.
None of us know what weekends are. If I have a Saturday off, I never leave the house.
I don't have a weekend free until June.
Right.
And
right.
It's crazy, and people, I'm not saying, people my age are not doing right. They're, everyone's their own person, and
right.
people my age, are usually out hanging out with friends on the weekend or something. And my weekend consists of weddings.
Right.
So I don't get to experience that. And I think that's the part that I'm still trying to figure out, is finding balance between work and, having a regular life.
Well, and I can tell you, it won't get any easier.
No.
It is because most of us that are in this industry, let's face it, the wedding industry is a service industry. None of us went into it to be millionaires. We went into it because of a place of service. Mm-hmm. And it is. We're privileged to do this and to be in these people's lives. So that's the blessing and curse of being an entrepreneur. We set out our own because we want to make our own rules and do what we want to do. So in making our own rules, we don't sometimes give ourselves permission to take a day off. Yeah. So it's while we're out every weekend doing this, I have adapted, and I kind of love it now that most Wednesdays are my Saturday. It's less crowded at the malls. It's less crowded at the movie. Less people are around. So in a way, I've got used to that. And I started my business young like you, and when all my friends were going off, hey, we're going to go do this, this, and this, I was photographing something at 16 and 17 and did not even want to go out at midnight after because I had all my gear and everything with me. And to to this day, at 55 years old, all my friends know that on a Friday night, if I have a wedding, I'm not going out to eat. I'm not going out to drink. It's that whole mentality of, I don't want to get food poisoning. I don't want to get a flat tire. I want to stay focused. And my friends all say, and I'm sure yours do too, well, you're done at 9:30 or 10. Meet us here and meet us there. They have no idea how exhausted we are mentally from being around people all day. So
my friends don't even ask. They just have stopped asking for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
You won't be invited to any party. You won't be invited to exactly. But you're building an empire. You're building your business. You're building your future. And, at what point do you think you'll start bringing on some extra people?
So right now I have 2 employees, and I'm about to hire a 3rd one. And I should have done it a lot sooner. I thought I could do it all by myself, and I'm realizing really fast that I cannot, and I am super thankful for the girls on my team that helped me. And I also have recruited my boyfriend into the wedding industry as well.
Yes.
He does
weddings. He works very hard.
Oh, yes, he does.
He's tall, so the advantage is anything up high, he can.
That is right. We actually coordinated a wedding last weekend together, and he loved it. He had so much fun.
We'll see. And again, that's something that you can build together and grow together. I have plenty of florist friends whose husbands, now retired and such, are now part of it, from delivering the bus and keeping the vans running and doing all that part of it and loading. I mean, because like with you, I'm thinking that you'll always be the design person, but maybe your team can be the ones that deliver and service, but you're always going to be the one behind the design. So a couple will always get you and your views, may just not always get everybody delivering. And at some point, realistically, that's how we all grow. So that part.
It's already to that point. Sometimes I have 3 weddings in one day, and I'll be at one, I'll have one of my girls at another, and then another girl at another wedding.
So how do you do those logistics? Are they far apart? Tell our listeners what area you service and where you do weddings all over at.
So I service anywhere you will let me. Honestly, I usually am in Savannah. Last year, I had 45 weddings, and 3 of them were here in Statesboro, and all the rest were in Savannah. So most of the time I am in Savannah, and I'll book up to 3 weddings in one day, depending on, my girls' availability. And like you said, logistics-wise, I have to create the timelines and make sure that I can line it up to where we can be at all of them at the same time. And with me, I am the big design person. So if you're getting a bouquet, it's made by me. And not always am I going to be there to deliver, and I wish I could be, but I'm always the one that's going to make your bouquet. And I have my girls, I make sure that they would deliver it the way I would want it delivered. So they're going to hug your neck, and they're going to talk to you and love on you and tell you congratulations. And that's how I want it to be.
Right. Right. Because, your name is on the business. I mean, it's your name, it's your reputation. But that's what people sometimes forget is we get hired for our talent. Our name may be on the door. And as long as we're doing that creating part of it, like with you, couples are okay that one of your girls bring it because they've heard about the girls along the process. So you're Fabbo at, doing the logistics, and you're not going to ever extend yourself, and you guys give 200% to your couples. So that part is, and it's shown, and hence that's why you have 45 weddings. You've gained the trust of the wedding community and the industry, and that speaks volumes, just aside from what your couples say, but that speaks volumes. So in the process of we're in the middle of spring weddings here in southern coastal Georgia. What are some trends that you saw in 2018 that are carried over? And what's some trends in the floral design that you would kind of wish would go away?
Go away?
Yeah.
I'll start with that one.
Exactly.
Corsages.
Exactly.
I do not think that they are necessary. I'd much rather give, the mother of the bride a small little bouquet or a rose with some pretty ribbon on it or something like that. I just, you're hugging everybody and you're moving your hands around a lot, and those things just get so messed up and
they don't always go. They don't always fit with the decor. You have to ask the question: is it long sleeves? Is it short sleeves? What's going on with it?
Yeah, and they, 99% of the time when I come to the reception, or I just like peek around the corner, sometimes I do that just to see how things are going. They have them sitting on the table. Like they already took them off their wrist.
Right.
Only wore them to walk down the aisle. And so I don't know. That is just one thing that I think should go.
Well, and don't you think that that's also a way that you can help your couples be cost conscious?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I recommend that. I recommend that every time I sit down with a bride and groom. I'm like, if it is not necessary to you, then don't do it. Like the day is about you. So if if those little corsages are not important to you, then, put that money somewhere else that is important.
And do you think, you've been in a couple different markets. Do you think that is just really a Southern thing, that the women have all grown up? Any event they go to, they have a wrist corsage?
Yeah, it really is. And I'm trying to break away from that. Because I feel like it's about you two. Like it's about your love story, and I don't know, just incorporating every single person, and some people get their feelings hurt when they don't get one.
Right.
I just don't think it's necessary to do that.
And how do you feel about boutonnieres? You love them? You think everybody should have them? I especially want to hear your take on boutonnieres on suspenders, because I could have a story about that. Boutonnieres just on suspenders, it makes no sense to me. It just, it doesn't work in the photos. You can barely see it. It's difficult. So what are some of those things that when might not look good, and me as a photographer, you're going to say, and I know Flora say this, Bobby's not going to like this. She's going to just take this right off. I don't think any of us want to mess with what you're trying to do, but yeah. If we would all educate our couples and say, you have suspenders, just go with suspenders. So how do you deal with the boutonnieres and the vast array we can use boutonnieres these days?
So I always ask what color they're wearing, are they wearing a suit, a vest, all of that. So I know what to expect, and I can recommend, I don't really think you need boutonnieres for this outfit that they're going to be in. I would rather you would do a pocket square or something, along those lines. I always like for the groom to have one, just so he kind of stands out and has something. But you don't have to have flowers on every single person. And this past weekend I did a wedding, and the groom didn't exactly know what he wanted, which I don't feel like a lot of grooms know what flower they want to wear. So I told him to trust me and let me be creative with his boutonniere. And so what I did was I made flowers growing out of his pocket.
Cool.
Instead of doing a traditional boutonniere, because I feel like you can do so many things besides a little rose sitting on somebody's suit.
I agree. I think that's one of the things that I think makes you going to have a really great career, because you heard it every here, listeners. The florist said you don't have to have flowers on everybody. And sometimes that people don't get that, whatever genre in this industry, and less is more. It works really well. So, I'm the same way. It's like, I don't think we always have to have boutonnieres, but man, I love when you guys can do some really cool ones, like you do the fishing lure ones, or you do a spark plug one. But I am going to ask for all the photographers that have to put on boutonnieres, why do florists, not more of you, use the magnets and get rid of these freaking stick pins?
I need to look into that.
Drives me crazy. Stick that magnet underneath that boutonniere, wrap that twine or ribbon around it, put that extra little piece, boom. Then a photographer like myself might be more inclined to, okay, I can put 20 of these on in 5 seconds. The pinning is crazy.
I can pin on a boutonniere in probably 2 seconds.
Sure.
I am so fast at it. I can do it super quick. And so I guess I don't even think about it. And I've seen some people use the magnets, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I should really look into that.
I know it costs more. I know it costs a little bit more, but for, you're a full service. You're going to come and show up. You've got a team. Not everybody's like that, and it doesn't always boil down to budget. It's just that's how they want to do their business, and to each their own. But, I had the problem Saturday. I was really trying to help. And I mean, for the life of me, I'm pretty dang good at putting on a boutonniere, not quite as fast as you, but the florist gives me one pin, and it is far too short. So you know what's going to happen. It's going to break and do things like that. And it's one of those things that I struggle with, because I want to represent you as a fellow vendor, and I want your work to look exceptional. But you got to help us. You got to set us up to succeed, just like we're trying to set you up. Don't bring me one pin and then have cut the things so short. So how about flower crowns? Are we seeing those coming back for everybody? Just flower girls? Are you seeing brides wearing them?
I am. My wedding this past weekend, the bride wore a flower crown, and also the flower girl did too. I think I saw them a lot last year. More so in the brides wearing them, but now I'm getting asked to make them for the bridesmaids as well. So everyone is starting to wear them, and I'm seeing a lot of flower combs as well. So if they're wearing their hair in like an updo and the flower crown won't work, I'll put flowers on a little comb that they can just pin into their hair.
Well, that's cool. I have not seen that one. I can tell you that I have not seen that.
Yeah, I like doing that. But yeah, I've been seeing that a lot lately, doing that. And I think one trend that's going out is the long ribbons. That was like a big thing last year.
Yeah.
The trailing ribbons, and I'm not seeing that much at all this year.
So how about the greenery? Are you seeing less greenery, more greenery, and God forbid this Pantone coral color? How are you seeing those automatically already in spring 2019? Have you incorporated all that already?
So a lot of my weddings this year actually have a lot of greenery. A big centerpiece that I'm seeing over and over and over again is candles, like clusters of different variations of candles with greenery around them. And that's super simple, but super elegant at the same time.
Yeah, I love that look.
Mm-hmm. And the coral, I did one wedding last weekend, and she had coral in her color palette, but that is I think that's the only bride I have so far this year that has coral in her color palette.
And again, I think it's because we're a coastal region. It's weird because everybody comes here for a destination wedding. So the ones that are coming here don't think to throw coral in. They want to take advantage of the natural greenery and the natural trees that we have. So I think if you're in the Midwest and the middle of the United States, you're probably going crazy. The florists are probably sick to death of coral. But I think coastal Georgia, people are keeping it simple, and I like that green look and things like that.
Lush and white and greenery.
I mean, you can dress that up, dress that down. It's a perfect flow. So yeah, I mean, I agree. How many of your weddings are full-blown design where you're doing everything from tables to decor on the entrances, the doors, and maybe even the rehearsal dinners, and maybe even the next day? How many of those of your 45 or so weddings book you as a full designer?
I'd say about 70% of them we stay. So a typical wedding, we would be designing for 2 days, and then we would go set up the day of the wedding, drop off all the personal flowers, and we would set up the ceremony and then go set up the reception. And one thing that I do too is I also clean up at the end of the night, so the bride and the groom don't have to worry about that. So my team will come back and we'll tear down, and we do that for a lot of weddings. I'd say about 70% of them. And something that I've done differently this year is I've set a minimum for budget for my weddings.
Good.
So now I'm doing more of the full service and less of just the ceremony drop-off weddings.
As you should, because no offense, your designs are, you're far more talented in your design work. You do great creations, but your designs are, they're not what everybody else is doing. Your ideas and your vision are not like everybody else is doing. I mean, she's doing some really cool floral walls, guys. She's doing some really arches in a different way. So in your design, are you also bringing in some decor like lanterns and things like that? Is that part of your service that will enhance your design work, or do you just, they get rentals and you deal with it? Or are you putting all that together as one design?
So this year as well, I've started offering rentals. So I have a warehouse that is full of candles and lanterns and cake plates and trays and ladders and chairs and signs, anything you can think of. We have it. We have an arch, all different kinds of stuff. And I've also this year started doing day of coordination as well. So those two things I have started offering this year with flowers.
Well, and that just works right into the next, part of your business plan, because you're already there. So if you have a full design person, you can be basically that wedding planner, because you're designing the look of the day along with the couple's vision. You might as well just add that. So that's a wonderful add-on feature that I think is great. You mentioned you come back and pick up. So this might be a question that I'm going to toss at you that you weren't prepared for, but I've been doing this a long time. And I know what I do personally. I get appalled sometimes when I see the amount of centerpieces and big floral bouquets and the mantle designs. And because we're a destination wedding, these people aren't going anywhere. So it's quite often that I put these things in the back of my car, and the next day I drop them at hospice or I drop at a hospital, because I just think they can brighten anybody's day, that even though they're a day old, the smile that these people get that may not have a visitor. Is there a program that you have that you work with in doing that, or do you just do that on your own as well?
I do not work with anybody. It depends on how much I have left over. Like sometimes I do throw, the flowers away if it's smaller, but I will take them to neighbors' houses. I will take them to people in the hospital. I'll decorate my house with it for my mom. Just take them wherever. There's a restaurant in Savannah that I do the centerpieces for, and we will often take the leftover flowers and do their centerpieces with them as well. So it just depends on where the wedding is and how much is left over is what I'll do with the leftover flowers.
I wish it would be somebody that would come up with, in other cities and other states and the markets I work in. But it's kind of like the people go to the bakery in the morning and get the leftover bread. I wish there would be somebody that would come along. And I know it boils down to logistics, but, some of these hospice people, it really brightens some of these people's days.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you're at the hospice or you're at a hospital, sometimes the florals mean the end of something. We need to change that and say, hey, today's a great day. Let's start today with florals. Let's start today. This was a happy wedding last night. Let's carry that celebration over. It's already a tough time for people in these hospice and places. And I just think it's a way to brighten. And I wish we could, in this area, come up with something, because the number of weddings that happen here, the dumpsters have to be full of just things that could brighten people's. And it's the same with the food at a wedding too. I get bugged about that. Like, all this food's just going to sit in the refrigerator and nobody's going to eat it. Let's get it to the homeless shelter and do something with it. So, so that's good. So how about trends on, you're seeing the paper and wood flowers. Is this something you can do? Is this something you can offer your clients? I've already had 2 of them this year.
I think it was last year. No, it might've been 2 years ago. I did an almost all paper flower bouquet. And I do silk weddings. I can do, I can make a bouquet out of anything. And I really do mean that.
Yep.
But as far as like me providing the actual like paper flowers or something, usually the bride will mail that kind of stuff to me, and I'll just make the bouquet with it. My wedding not too long ago, the bride sent me some palmetto roses that, that's a big thing in Savannah.
Right.
When you're walking down River Street or something, is those palmetto roses, people are just handing them out or whatever. And so she wanted that incorporated into her bouquet. And so she sent me a whole box of them. So I can incorporate anything into a bouquet. I've hung a Bible on a bouquet before, like a real big Bible.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just usually they will provide those things for me, and then I just add them into the bouquet.
Well, so that's the gift of having a vision and being able to see things and rounding all that up. I want to talk a little bit too, since I have you today. You're part of Elevated Events Statesboro. You want to elaborate a little bit on that and how that came about?
That is right. So I can't remember when exactly it was, but I met Jeff Wells of Shockwave Entertainment a couple years back at a style shoot, which is a big thing that, in the wedding industry, that is a big part of what we do. And we just kind of clicked and knew that we worked really well together. And so then he introduced me to Tammy Barrow of Fairy Tale Tints. And since then, we have worked together multiple times, and we worked so well together that we decided we would start a bridal expose together. And it was 2 years ago that our first bridal expose we put on, and it was great. It was something different that, little Statesboro hadn't seen before. And so then we decided to call the group Elevated Events. And so we want to use this group to network with people in Statesboro in the wedding industry, and to lift each other up and to help each other, to, get other people's names out there and provide connections and stuff for all of these people in the wedding industry, because Statesboro really doesn't have that. And so we wanted to make that happen for everyone here.
And it elevates everybody. And like I said, the more we grow and the more we share, the more we know. We not only serve our clients better, but we serve each other better. So
that's a big thing too. I like the phrase community over competition, because we are really working together to make somebody's day special. We aren't competing against each other, and you want to make each other look good, and that makes your business look amazing.
Right.
And lifting each other up and elevating each other in the wedding industry is so important.
And I stress that to all the couples. Your wedding day team, you might come and have the favorite florist, the favorite DJ, the favorite band, the favorite everything. But if none of us know each other and we're all kind of different, you can just tell on the wedding day that it's kind of like, well, what do you do? What do you do? What do you, I don't want to step on toes. And then everybody's not at a good level. But when you get people that know we're going to deliver and go a little bit above, and I always want to surround myself with people who respect my clients mutually that we have together, and will do everything for them. And at the end of the day, my couples go, oh my God, what a wedding day team. And they do call it a dream team, because it is just very,
it's so important.
Exactly. And the couples, it's seamless then for all of us. People forget that.
They see that. So I can't tell you how many times I've walked into the bridal suite and I know every vendor that is in there. And it makes the bride feel at ease and so happy when, I walk into the room and they're like, Kristian, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. And she is awesome. And we get to work with each other all the time. And we're giving hugs. That makes the bride, feel just awesome that her team works well together and is so happy with each other,
Well, and it instills in the entire wedding party and parents that, oh my gosh, we hired people who are really good at their game, people who know what they're doing. And it makes my life easier when I show up and they say, oh yeah, the makeup person said, hey, Bobby, this is when Bobby comes. We know your contract's for 4. Bobby will be here at 3:15 and we want to keep going. That. And Bobby likes this and Bobby likes that. And they know it. And they say it in a way of respect, not that I'm a big old bee, but out of respect. And then they'll all say, well, and then Bobby will make sure that the florals go this way. She's going to take care of that. And then they all, when it's time to go do photos, man, it's like, she's going to make sure the flowers look okay. She's going to make sure that the hair looks all right. I am now tasked with making everybody look wonderful and showcasing everybody. And it's one of those ego things that when I walk in a room, I say ego as in I am so honored to be with everybody that she says, oh, I know so-and-so and so-and-so. Yeah, Mom, they all work so great together. That's how I found them. And it's just, man, the stress level, exactly, the stress level just goes down. So you're a young age person. So let's talk about technology and apps. What apps and technology in your business can you not live without?
Instagram.
Yep.
For sure, Instagram and Facebook. I use them both on the daily basis. And I think that showing you and the real you and being authentic is so important with what we do, because we're a part of, that big day of somebody's life, and them getting to know you, to me, is super important. So not only do I show on Instagram and Facebook the behind the scenes of us making things and the traveling and the setup and the takedown and all of that, but I also show my daily life on Instagram and Facebook. So if I'm going out to eat with my family, I'm going to show it. If I'm at a pool party or something, I'm going to show it. So that they get to know me. And it's so much fun too, because that is how I talk to my brides. And so on the wedding day or something, I say, oh my gosh, this is my favorite dessert on Instagram, and I'll show a picture of it. Sometimes a bride will actually have that for me when I go to deliver her flowers. Yep. And it's just making those like connections and personal things and sharing that with them is super important to me. So yeah, and I'd say Instagram and Facebook are a big part of what I do.
And you're that generation. I mean, you're this generation, this millennial generation knows the cell phone, but the Z generation, I mean, they get to walk around and say, hey, yeah, you guys might have invented the Instagram and the cell phone, but our generation is going to flip it on its ear. So, that's all they know. And I'm the same way. Saturday's wedding, I had a brunch wedding. I had to be over on Jekyll Island at freaking 6:30 in the morning. Yeah. First thing that happens is the groom and his brother bring Pop-Tarts out to me. And everybody kind of chuckled, like, hey, Bobby eats Pop-Tarts on Saturday mornings for our weddings, but it's early. And as you full well know, pretty much wherever I am at 3:00, somebody brings me a cup of coffee. I mean, it is. I was just at a conference, or I was speaking a couple weeks ago, and I was literally talking to somebody, and Jeff was providing the entertainment, and he walked up on the side and set an iced coffee down, even though it was like, doesn't matter. It was 3:00, and he even said to somebody, it's just a little after 3, and I'm in the middle of my talking, and here comes this cup, and it's, and it's just because people invest in people. People invest in somebody, and they want to hear. And plus, no offense, it does validate, hey, my gosh, I forgot they had to drive an hour and a half to go get my flowers 15 times, or they had to do 7 trips to get this. It validates what we do.
Oh, yeah.
For our price and get our pricing structure. And I know price is always hard to talk about, but has that been a learning curve for you, determining how to, hey, you have a tangible, this is what flowers cost. And am I correct in saying that those costs do vary sometimes week to week or order to order? Is that how that works?
Very much so. Every wedding is different. Every wedding pricing is custom to the bride and the groom, where their venue is at, traveling, what flowers they like, even colors of the flowers makes the prices go up and down. So it's all different.
And so you can, that's why you can never really quote somebody a
Exactly.
year out, because it's like the catering people can't. So is it true for our listeners out there? I think most but maybe, Kristian, you can enlighten us by saying, this is why it costs so much on Valentine's Day, and this is why it costs so much on Mother's Day. So if you're getting married on those 2 days, how much more of an increase is your floral budget need to be?
So it's not because we are trying to make an extra profit because those days are special and we know people are going to buy flowers on those days. I don't like when people say that, because it's not true at all. It's the prices go up because for us buying the flowers wholesale, those prices have gone up because they're not having to just ship, one shipment over like usual for a regular day. Those planes that are bringing those flowers over are having to make multiple trips because so many people want a surplus of roses and a surplus of carnations and stuff. And so we're paying for their extra travel and their shipping and all of that. And that's why the prices are go up so much on those special days.
So not only just supply and demand, it's if gas prices go up.
Oh, yeah.
All that goes. So that parlays into the question of, how do you prepare for hurricane season? I mean, how far in advance do you have to get the flowers here? Because you run the risk of, and I'm sure you may have a story, where you get where you get your flowers from. We might not have a hurricane here, but they can't get here. So let's talk a little bit. We're in a hurricane market. We know what it's like. But from a floral designer's perspective, how do you deal with handling that?
So during hurricane season, I watch the weather pretty closely. And if I know something is going to happen, I make sure to get the flowers in even earlier. And, things happen and you can't really control the weather. You can't control the weather at all. And so I understand that, and I try to be super flexible with the bride and the groom when those type things happen. I'll give you a story. I had a wedding the weekend it snowed, like so bad. And so I get a phone call from my wholesaler the day before it snowed saying my flowers were stuck in Texas.
And we need to preface that to the listeners. Remember, everybody, we're in coastal Georgia. So when it snows.
It never snows here.
So when it does, we are shut down. We're not like Chicago and that where you guys keep going. We are shut down with, schools get closed if it might snow. And we get that maybe every 20 years. But that particular year, we had ice and everything. So continue on. I just want everybody to remember that. Well, what's a little bit of snow? This is why, everybody. This is why.
And so she called me and she said my flowers were stuck in Texas and that there was absolutely no way I could get them. So then I'm calling local wholesalers from Savannah and Sylvania and Lyons and all these different places that are around here. They're not going to drive. They don't want their employees driving out in the weather. So now I have a wedding in 2 days with no flowers. And so what I did? I went out and I picked flowers outside. I went to a flower farm, picked the flowers out of the gardens, and I did her entire wedding that way. I went out in the woods and I got greenery, and she didn't know the difference. And I made it so pretty, and it was so perfect, and she was so happy. And that's another thing, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make your day perfect. And, when I got home from that wedding, the flowers were sitting on my porch.
Right.
And I will never forget that day because I went through so much just to get that little amount of flowers. And then when I got home, all of her flowers that were supposedly stuck in Texas were sitting at my front door.
Right.
That was a fun day.
Well, that's the lesson in, you over deliver and under promise, and in life and in business, karma, it's there for you. And, when people, you're going to get rewarded for being caring and doing things. And you have the same philosophy I do that, people before profits. and you can still have a sustainable business. You can still have a career, but you have a career with purpose, because if you follow the passion, and I know it's a cliche, but when you follow the passion, the money will follow. And we all have bills to pay, and couples know this, and clients, events, everybody knows this. But it's if you lead your business and you lead life in the same way of just always trying to be kind and doing the right thing when nobody's looking and going the extra mile, your flowers will end up on your doorstep, because you set that intention of, well, I'm not going to disappoint this bride, because this bride was freaking out in the snow anyway. I mean,
oh yeah,
she's like, oh my God, I never thought I'd go to Georgia and be snowed out on my wedding. And it was a disaster here. So I mean, that's a good thing. Events. We talked a little bit about the wedding stuff. Are you doing corporate events? Do you see yourself doing, I mean, has that been something that's been asked, like, I don't know, Knights of Columbus meetings, award banquets? Are you doing some of those type events?
So I love to branch out and do those type things. My business, I do wedding and events, and that's actually like in my logo is wedding and events. I just have been doing way more weddings than events. Right. And it's not because I say no or anything like that. It's just I really haven't been asked to do an event. And I think it's because the florist here in Statesboro, and I am not saying there's anything wrong with them. They do the daily stuff. And so, local people get to know them through like, Mother's Day and birthdays and baby showers and stuff like that. And so I feel like that's why I haven't been approached about, doing events like that. But I would absolutely love to do them.
Well, and it should be that way. Small town Main Street America should have Susie's Floral Shop, and she does I got in trouble. I got to go. If I got in trouble for doing something, so I got to stop by and pick a bouquet for my wife. There are places like that, and Susie doesn't want to do any weddings at all. So that's why we have the wonderful world of weddings that we live in. There's people that want to do everything, and there's people that say, no, I do this, you go on and do that. So before we wrap up, I just wanted, just if you can, expand a little bit on, you have a great business plan going, you have a great business going. Where do you see yourself in 3 years?
In 3 years.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so I have set a couple goals for myself, and one of them being having a warehouse in the next year. That is a big goal for me. And I'm not saying a full-on shop with, amazing decor. I just want a space, because a lot of people, if you're not watching me on Instagram, don't know this, but I work out in my bedroom.
Right.
And I've way outgrown that. Like a long time ago, I've outgrown that space. So I would love to have, a space, and that's a goal of mine. Another goal of mine is to move to Savannah, because a lot of my work is in Savannah, and I feel like it would be beneficial if I was closer, or even in between Savannah and some other place.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of another one that I would have. I see myself with more weddings, but not drop-off weddings. I feel like I'm moving into a point where I'm doing the full service and doing way more than just, flowers.
Exactly. And I think those are very three attainable. I definitely think you could do a combination of the warehouse and the shop in closer to Savannah and living there. And there is a happy medium in between. There's so many things growing and booming. And then I think you would be surprised that if you got in that area, that you wouldn't take that area by storm just as well. So, I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to be hearing about you for many years to come. And the wedding community is thrilled to have you. I know your couples are thrilled to have you. You're doing great things in the community, outside the community, and you're definitely one of those young shining stars. So I applaud you for being Fabbo. Remind our listeners where that Instagram feed is, website, all that fun stuff.
So my Instagram is just Kristian.designs. My Facebook is Kristian Designs Florals. and both of them have my logo as the picture, so that's how you know it's me. And my website, which I don't use as much, but it is kristiandesigns.net.
That is perfect. All right, listeners, I hope you got a little insight on what it's like to be a young entrepreneur in the wedding industry, a very talented florist. We're going to be hearing more from her. Jump over and check out her Instagram, and everything that she talked about today, we'll link back to in the show notes. Tina will make sure you have ways to link back to her and find her. If you're coming to this area, I highly suggest you give her a look for her design and follow the Instagram. You're going to fall in love with this young lady's talent. So thank you so much, Kristian, for joining us today. Have a fabulous weekend, and we will see everybody later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope these conversations will take you into your wedding weekend with a little more confidence, proud of what you do, and how you serve your clients. Maybe you even picked up a business tip or two. Till next time, be Fabbo.